And we are here on a Thursday night. It's not too late, so this shouldn't be like movies that make us after dark.
Right. I'm not promising anything.
That's fair.
I've been up since 5 a.m. digging up a yard. I just had rocks delivered on my driveway. So we'll see. We
haven't had a That's Fair for a while.
Well, every once in a while, you've got to bring out the classics, you know.
Absolutely.
Bring them out, dust them off, try them out, shake the rust off a little bit. It felt good.
It's almost July, guys.
I know.
July.
That's crazy.
What the heck happened to this year?
I don't know.
I think when COVID hit, it changed the timeline completely. Because COVID took like 18 years, and now the last year and a half has taken like 2 days.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does feel that way.
So
it does feel that way. 2020 was the longest decade of my life.
Tracy, you're so close. You're so close to the...
Well,
that doesn't look good. That was scary for me.
That's just as we're recording. You'll see when we actually post the episode, he'll be widescreen, so he won't be quite as close up.
Oh, okay.
I just pre-apologize for everyone. You got to see all my pores, all my freckles.
It was a little intense.
Yeah, it's not good for anybody.
Well, hey, listeners and viewers, if you like movies and you like movie content, you want to make sure that you're following our show. So please make sure you go down and subscribe, hit the notification button on YouTube so that you get notifications when new videos drop, or follow us wherever you listen to podcasts. Leave a like on this video and a comment, any kind of comment. We can give you a topic. What's your favorite sci-fi movie? Put it in the comments below. We'd like to know. You can even put negative comments in there. We'll ignore them, but at least it drives interaction and engagement. So.
We won't ignore them. We'll just slightly not notice them.
Yeah. Ignore is a strong word for like not responding.
We're not doing it on purpose. It's not out of malice.
Right.
No, we need to. I'll start checking the comments just to make sure.
Valerie will be our filter.
No, typically when we get comments, they're always very positive, and so we always appreciate our viewers and the comments that they make.
Sometimes I go to just our comment section to get away from my comment section.
Yeah.
So that I can get some good feedback.
It's a good way to go. We've got the best fans and listeners.
We do.
All, we just love them. It doesn't matter how many. I was going to say a number, but it doesn't matter how many. We just love them all.
And this will be fun too. We've got 2 sci-fi movies coming up that we're going to talk about over the next little bit.
I picked this one because we've been watching a lot of sci-fi on our own.
Yeah.
That has sucked.
That's true.
I figured I would throw out a good sci-fi movie, and I was hoping, crossing my fingers, that you guys would like this movie that we're going to talk about today. So if you didn't, I'm sorry, but it's definitely better than the other crap we've been watching.
So what else have you been watching? Rebel Moon?
Well, we have not been watching Rebel Moon. I think a couple of us have seen Rebel Moon.
I've seen. We're not sitting around just watching it. It's not like
an active engagement. Like,
you're talking about The Acolyte.
Yes.
I don't want to talk
big
about it.
Pile of. I don't want to talk about it either. But I changed my grade on Good Things Utah when it came out. I gave it a C. And I was hoping that it would get better. Tomorrow, I will be throwing out on TV, because I want to, that it's now a D. And if I were to keep watching it, it would be moving into the F area.
It's really rough.
Yeah. This is where I stand.
You have 2 episodes.
Yeah. This is where I stand with The Acolyte right now. I saw a video clip of Kevin Smith the other day. He was being interviewed, and he was saying that now, like as of right now, you'll never hear him say anything negative about another work of art or another production.
I saw that.
And he said used to, like 10 years ago, he'd be all over that. He said, but there's, he's had some medical things that have happened, and he's like, I could go at any time, and I don't want to spend my time here on Earth being negative. And I thought that's a great way to do it. And that's what I like about our show in general. We usually go very positive on the stuff
80%
that
of
we're
the
talking
time,
about. Yeah.
80% of the time, we're right there giving you the good feels, talking
Yeah.
about the good things. And every once in a while, something gets into our universe that makes us just want to.
Yeah. And unfortunately, that has happened with, yeah. And some people really like The Acolyte and are enjoying it. And I'm glad that you guys are enjoying it. That's fantastic. It's just not for me. And it's not because I'm a Star Wars anti-woke fanboy at all. It's just poor quality.
Yeah.
I am
And if we
also
You're not a
Star
fanboy?
Wars anti-fanboy.
Well, I was going to say, Valerie said 80% of the time, but if I may quote the great Paul Rudd, 60% of the time, it works
All of the
every
time.
time.
Yeah.
And
It's made with real anthem, you know.
in on this show, Tracy, you're always welcome to quote the great Paul Rudd. That Paul Rudd quotes are always welcome. He's national treasure.
That was an improv line. I saw an interview with him, and he said it's probably the best improv line that he's ever done. He's so proud of that one.
Nice.
So
that's awesome. That's awesome. But you teased it, Tracy. We are going to talk sci-fi today. We're also next week going to talk about a new sci-fi movie, A Quiet Place Day One. We had the opportunity to watch that last night.
Mm-hmm.
And we have some thoughts that we're going to share. I don't want to spoil it for next week because I want you to come back and watch us next week.
But in order to come back and watch us next week, you need to go to the theater this week and go see it because we will be talking spoilers.
We always talk spoilers. I mean, I feel like we give a spoilers warning, but at this point, you guys should know we're going to talk spoilers. We don't. I do like your Roosevelt shirt, Tracy. I'm also sporting my Roosevelt shirt. We're looking good.
Sporting the rash of DC pictures that are coming out of Superman. So
yeah, what do we think about Superman?
It's looking pretty good.
Yeah,
I've got high hopes. I think Corn Sweat looks really good. I love the casting.
Yeah.
Did you say Corn Sweat? Did you say Corn Sweat?
Isn't it Corn Sweat?
Is his name Corn Sweat?
I think it's CORNSWET.
That's unfortunate.
Oh, Corn Sweat.
Corn Sweat.
Yes, sorry.
Same difference.
You just took him back to grade school and all the bullies that made fun of his last name.
I did. Oh, I totally did. I'm sorry, David. That's my bad. No, but I like the fact that the suit's a lot brighter from the set photos than what the first release photo was. The first release photo was very muted.
Yeah.
And I like kind of the vibrant red and blue. And we have trunks, Jake.
Yes, which is a must
underwear
for
over
Superman.
The pants are back. Yeah.
We got the trunks and the S. He's got the S on the back of the cape. So
yep. And the yellow is bright and the red is vibrant and the blue is blue. Like there are a lot of positive things about it. We have not seen it in post-production yet. These are set photos. So that is what the costume looks like naked. Meaning
and it's not just set photos, it's paparazzi set photos. So
Yeah. So not official set photos.
I mean, but this is what happens, guys. Don't let me ruin this for you, but here I go.
Oh no.
So what happens is somebody in publicity calls, all of the paparazzi and says, this is where we're going to be.
Oh, yeah.
And this is when you can take the photos and this is when you can leak them. Like it's a whole planned thing because you cannot get that close to set and get those photos without somebody getting on the phone and saying, this is a great marketing time. Come get your pop photos. And then they go out there. I'm sorry, everybody, if I ruined it for you. There are moments when the paparazzi is all up in your business and you don't like it. But then there's a whole marketing aspect of Hollywood when you get your team calling the paparazzi to let them know where you're going to be to come get the photo.
And it's a win-win, really, because the paparazzi, they can sell those photos, so they get benefit out of it, and it's free marketing for the movie.
Yeah, exactly.
Everybody's talking about Superman right now because of the paparazzi set photos that have come out.
Yep. It's brilliant. This is how Hollywood works. Yeah.
But I'm excited. Like just some of the detail work, like they have the names of the different businesses because this is Metropolis. It's in Cleveland. I think they're filming in right now, or Cincinnati.
I think somewhere in Ohio. It might have been Columbus.
Wherever they're filming is Metropolis, and they brought back the original Daily Planet logo.
Yeah.
There's a newspaper stand that has like actual like papers in it that have like articles, and people have been able to like take pictures of that. Has pictures of Superman stopping a train.
Do you think there's people that have to explain what a newspaper is to some other people?
I've had to explain it to my kids. We've had that conversation because they've never really seen one.
What is this artifact, Dad?
Yeah. You guys used to read the news on a piece of paper? Yeah, and it was old. By the time we got it, it was at least 12 hours old.
And then it would be on your hands for the rest of the day.
Yep.
Yeah.
Man, I remember the paper out days.
Like, getting the Sunday paper and laying on the floor and just going through articles.
Yep. Well, see, that's what I would lay on the floor and just read the comics on Sunday mornings. That was where I like to go.
I go sports page and comics, but
yeah. And then
it's not like I was hitting the business section.
Yeah, Friday after, or the Thanksgiving newspaper was awesome because that's like when all the Black Friday sales were in there.
Oh, yeah.
And I used to go and you'd circle all of the things that you wanted for Christmas and just hope that maybe you'd get one of those things. Like maybe mom and dad would pay attention this year and get me one of the things on my list instead of what they think I would think is cool. And then you've got to do the slight smile afterward. Oh, thanks, mom and dad. This is the best.
Oh, hey, speaking of Christmas.
Jake, do you need a hug?
I kind of do now, actually. Yeah, it's kind of been a rough moment here.
I'm hugging you.
Oh,
big virtual hug from Valerie.
Virtual hug. I needed that.
Speaking of Christmas, this is really funny. Robert Eggers is releasing Nosferatu on Christmas Day, which I think is either brilliant or
I think it's great.
Really, I'm like,
I think it's brilliant because I do think that there is a population out there that when Christmas comes, they are done with all the holly jolly nonsense and watching something black and white monster-ish. Yeah. Val's pointing at it. Yeah, it's totally a thing. So I think it'll do really well. I don't know, speaking of Christmas movies or movies coming around Christmas, I don't know about Red One with Dwayne Johnson and Chris Evans. I don't know.
It's a little rough to me. And wasn't it originally just going to be a Netflix film?
I don't know. That makes me.
I thought when they first announced it was going to be a Netflix film, and now it's getting a theatrical release. I could be very wrong, but
The Rock walked into the office and said, "This will be in theaters."
And they said,
"But I swear it was going to be
just want it on streaming." Yeah,
but I very much could be wrong.
Yeah, they said we want it only on streaming, and Rock said, "Shut your mouth and know your role, you jabroni." And they said, "Okay, let's do it."
It is.
We're putting it in the theater. We know our role.
Yeah, the trailer dropped, and I'm not sold on that one.
It.
So
The Rock's entertaining. Chris Evans is usually a lot of fun, but
yeah, it may be really good. I just don't know about it. It seems like a weird premise, and so it's one that it's a wait and see. But I have to wait until December to see. So
yeah.
But I just want to ask before we segue into our movie here. Our listeners out there, if you hate cancer, which I think 10 out of 10 people that listen to our show hate cancer, it is something that has impacted and affected everybody's lives in some way or form or fashion. And if you've been listening to our show for a while, you know that we are big supporters of American Cancer Society. We've raised a lot of money to help them. Anytime when we did the race back in January, we were raising money for that. And we appreciate your generosity as you guys have donated to that. Our friend Tracy, our co-host here, is running in September. When is it?
September? I'm doing the 5K and the 10K at Disneyland just because it's there. I wasn't going to, but then they announced that it was Halloween themed.
Yeah.
And I'm like, crap.
Yeah.
Because I love Halloween, and the 5K medal is Chippendale as an astronaut and a cowboy. And then the 10K is the Haunted Mansion, and it looks like it has the door knocker on the medal. I'm all about the medals, dang it.
Tracy's all about the medals, but he's also about raising money for American Cancer Society. So we would love to ask you, if you can, to donate to Tracy's fundraiser. to help him get over the hump and get him where he needs to be for that.
And soon, Valerie and I will be running a half marathon in Disneyland in January.
Yeah. So,
and again, it's because of the theming. Valerie, if it was not Mickey Mouse's Indiana Jones, would we be doing this?
I can't say yes or no because I don't know, Tracy.
I can neither confirm nor deny.
Yeah, I mean, because it would have been something else that was cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I wish I was doing the Halloween one, but
Yeah,
but we are
Halloween
also doing the 5K. I think the 5K is the one I'm looking forward to the most because I really want to see if my training is paying off.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, the half marathon, it's just going to be trying to get me through it. It's going to be, you come on, there's churros. Let's keep going.
Yep. There's Angel Stadium way up there. We can make that.
Yeah. I said to a lot of people that I would never do a half marathon. And then Tracy comes into my life and I start doing stupid crap all the time.
See, and I had a friend do the same thing to me. I had a friend show me the medal and I was like, dang, that's cool.
So years ago when we started this show, I remember, and it was probably a conversation on air. I might have to go and see if I can find the episode where we talked to Tracy and he said, I'm not crazy. I'm only half crazy because I only do half marathons. I don't do full marathons. And then earlier this year, I don't know, you're just clinically insane, I would imagine at this point, because you've done the whole Dumbo, or what was it? The Dopey challenge. And then the Dumbo Double Dare. And the Coast to Coast, because he did this within a matter of a week. He ran like 700 miles.
It was like, I think 10 days or something. It was over 2 weekends, but yeah, we did. I'd have to do the math in my head, and it's too late in the day. But but it was a lot. But I'm not doing that again. This old body, that marathon training is hard.
Yeah. But it's amazing that you did it. And
I can say that I did it. And now I can say I did it, and I don't have to do it ever again.
But we are raising funds for cancer, or the American Cancer Society, against cancer. We're raising funds against cancer. I want to make that clear. We'll put the link in the description for this video on YouTube, as well as in the show notes for the episode on the podcast, so you can go and donate to Tracy's fundraising efforts. And we appreciate anything that can be given for that. And then down the road, we'll start raising funds for Tracy and Val and their trip. So
yeah, we'll do some fun events. We've got like some movie swag that we can give away, and we do like trivia and stuff. And it's a good time when you come out and see us.
Yeah. When I think of marathoners, I think of the tall, skinny runners. I see a couple of them at the Oval when I go and walk. And you know who look like a marathon runner like that? Matt Damon at the end of this movie. At the end of the movie, The Martian.
Did he though?
A little bit, like when he comes out of the shower, like the last scene. Yeah, he looked a little bit skinny. So
yeah. I mean, but he didn't look healthy, and marathon runners look healthy.
Yeah, they're healthier. Yes, that is a good point. I was looking for a segue.
Yeah,
it wasn't a great one.
The Martian. This movie was based on a book. Of the
Andy
same
Weir.
name. And I did read the book a couple of years ago, but I had seen the movie like a handful of times before I had read the book. And this is a movie for me that I don't like go seeking it out, but if I'm scrolling and I just want something that I know is going to be good and that is going to make me feel good, I will put this movie on. So I'm excited to talk about it. If one of you hates it, then that's fine, but I don't really want to talk to you ever again.
Well, I think that said, let's dive in.
I'm just kidding.
Okay. At least Val and I will be okay at the end of this episode. Tracy's always a wild card.
Tracy's always a wild card.
Nope,
There's going to be some scene where the editing is going to be like crazy and he's going to be out of here.
Let's start with the cast, because this movie is stacked. So we've got, of course, Matt Damon.
Yes.
But Jessica, and this is before a lot of these people were like well known. Like they were
Matt
kind of known, but
was most well known, I think.
He was the moneymaker. He was what brought people in. Yeah.
But the rest of these people, not as, they have had bigger
Jessica
careers.
Chastain had 2 movies that she was in that people were like kind of testing her out.
Right.
And we were like, oh, we like her, but who, like, we didn't know the name with the face. We're like, oh, yeah, I know her. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Matt Damon, Jessica Chastain, Chidi Ejiofor, I think is how you say his name.
Ejiofor. Yep.
Yeah.
Chiwetel Ejiofor. I'm going to
Thank you.
Ejiofor. Yeah.
Thank you. Kate Mara, Sebastian Stan, of course, the Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
Kristen Wigg, Michael Pena. I mean, you got a lot of Marvel people in here. Mackenzie Davis, Sean Bean, who does not die.
He lives. He survives with this one.
Donald Glover, Jeff Daniels, Naomi Scott, Benedict Wong. I mean, that's insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jeff Daniels was a big star by the time this came out. I
Yes,
just want to
Jeff
point that out.
Daniels.
That's true.
Daniels.
And
That's
Kristen
true.
Wigg was
Yeah.
also.
She was- but this was not what you would expect from her, though.
Yeah,
No,
this was not
it's a
comedic
very
at all.
different role. A very
Yeah.
different role, and people knew. I don't think they knew what it was going to be when you have all these different casts of people, and a lot of them
Right.
are in comedies, and a lot of them are in dramas only, and then you bring them all together. Like, what exactly are you going to get? And that's exactly the movie. It's a
Mhm.
drama comedy. It's emotional. It's super smart.
It is.
But it was just, there are so many cool scenes. But if you were to pitch this movie to somebody, okay, there's a team of astronauts and they're on Mars, and then they end up leaving a guy there and they think he's dead, but then he's not dead. And then he's got to plant a bunch of poop so that he can grow potatoes and listen to ABBA like all day long, every day. Can we make this movie? Well, who's going to star in it? Matt Damon. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Well,
then it's amazing, and he does a great job. And he was like, "How do you like them apples?" afterward. So.
Thank you.
How do you like them potatoes?
Oh man.
They've got a little stank on them.
Oh man. That was so
little-
gross. That was so gross.
Well, and I got to say, and I think I can speak for all of us, we're hit or miss when it comes to Ridley Scott.
Yeah.
When Ridley Scott hits, he hits hard. And when he misses hard. But his space movies typically are really, really good. And Valerie, this is no exception. I absolutely love this movie.
Yeah.
And I loved it too, because I'm a Ridley Scott fan. Even when the movie is bad, I can always respect his action scenes and how he allows his cinematographers to really get in there and get some of the coolest action scenes that you've seen. Like even with Napoleon last year, I didn't really care for that movie, but there were great shots. Like there were some beautiful shots. Like there's this horse scene that I cannot get out of my mind every time I think of that movie. But what is cool about this movie is that it's Ridley Scott reined in. He is doing a film that is much more actor driven than it is story driven. Like the story is a huge part of it.
Sure.
But you've got Matt Damon
it's not
by himself most of the time. You know what I mean? It's him there most of the time by himself.
Yeah.
And I'll be nerdy with you.
I love it when you talk nerdy to me, Tracy.
Darius Wolski is the cinematographer, and he's done a ton of Ridley Scott films. But he started out, his first big one was The Crow with Alex Proyas back in 1994. Did Crimson Tide, Dark City again with Alex Proyas. Pirates of the Caribbean, he did all three of the Gore Verbinski films. So we've got Dead Man's Chest, Black Pearl, and At World's End. He then worked with Tim Burton, Sweeney Todd, The Demon Barber of Fleet Street, Alice in Wonderland. He also did Pirates of the Caribbean on Stranger Tides, Exodus, Gods and Kings, The Martian, Alien Covenant, Sicario, Day of the Salado, The Last Duel, House of Gucci, Napoleon, and then he's doing the new Fly Me to the Moon, which is coming out soon.
So he did do Napoleon.
Yeah.
Awesome.
But
I mean,
I'm
that
like,
makes sense.
If you put the cinematographer with Ridley Scott and make it a space movie, I am 100% in. because the Alien movies that he made post Alien get a lot of crap. Covenant and Prometheus get a lot of crap, but I think they're really good. They're not perfect, they're flawed, but especially visually, there's some great visual moments in those. But he pulls it off here too. Get this, guys, this whole movie was shot in 70 days.
Wow.
Most movies nowadays are like 6 months. He shot this whole thing because he's so efficient and he knows what he wants and he doesn't waste time, and he works with the same crew, so they have a shorthand, and he knows when he's got the shot they move on.
Main locations. There's 3 main locations.
But you still have
you're on Mars, you're in NASA,
Mm-hmm.
or you're on Mars and NASA in the ship. And that's
but you still have a lot of locations. You got a lot of green screen, and you have a lot of variety inside the ship because you have the rover.
Are you saying they didn't actually shoot this on Mars?
No, because Tom Cruise wasn't starring in this movie.
Oh, okay.
No, they did shoot in Jordan for the Mars sequence, though.
Oh, interesting.
Cool.
So, but it just kills me. Like, he is so fast when he shoots. Like 70 days to shoot a full length feature with this many characters is just unreal.
Yeah.
And have it be this good.
Yeah. But really, there are a lot of characters, and I think they contribute a lot to the story, but really it comes down to Matt Damon and his performance, because he's the backbone of this movie. 100%. Oh,
and I super love.
Hold on, time out.
Are you sciencing the?
Well, it stopped recording.
Oh, okay.
It says it's recording on my side.
Yeah, mine too.
Yeah, and it's still counting up. 26
I'm at
minutes
20,
and 45 seconds.
9.
Okay, hold on. Well, you guys keep talking then, and we'll get video of you guys.
Wait for you. We can wait for you.
Yeah. No man left behind, unlike this crew.
Hey, they didn't want to.
Let's see. I'm going to go out for a minute and see if it'll let me come back in. We'll see.
Oh.
Yeah, I haven't watched this one for a while, but it was nice to go back and revisit.
Yeah.
It's like I feel bad that I kind of forgot about it.
Why? I mean, they're not.
Well, just because like you have your list of movies that you like go back and rewatch and stuff, and it's like I haven't thought of this one for a while, and then I'm like, oh yeah, I should think about this more. This is good.
Yeah, it is good. It's kind of a comfort movie.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's because of the cast too. I just really love all of the cast.
Yeah.
And you can watch it, and there's just like the fun scenes.
Oh. All right. We'll try it this way. I'm in. Back.
Okay. Cool. So the part when the crew finds out that he's alive.
Yeah.
For me, like, what would you do? As you knew you left someone so far away with nothing, and people knew about it, and you didn't know until you were almost halfway home.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and that's the quandary that they're left in. Like, what do we do? How do we handle this? Because NASA's saying, we've got this plan, just come home and keep doing it. And they, when Donald Glover's character comes up with the plan, like, it would be better for us to send them and slingshot them back and have them come home. And they don't even want to present it to them because they know that they'll do it, but they, don't want to lose all of them. So,
right.
And then when it slips to them that they could do it, then of course they're on board, because of course you would feel responsible, like you'd have to go back.
Yeah.
And then they kept on having like more and more issues on how much food and when they're actually going to get there. And he's like eating ketchup packets, like
yeah.
And then when they're like, okay, so we're going to have you get into the shuttle, and we're going to have you take off take out all the extraneous stuff inside the shuttle that you don't need, including the top of the shuttle and the whole front hatch. And then we're going to put a tarp on top because the Mars atmosphere is so thin, you're going to be fine.
Yeah.
And then he's like, they're trying to tell me that and this is, I think, why the script works so well. Well, why the movie works so well, because you have a smart script and then you have really good line delivery for Matt Damon, because he's like, because they're trying to convince me I should do this because I will be the fastest person in space.
Yeah.
And I kind of want to be the fastest man in space.
Well, and then he was like, he's a space pirate. I love
Yes.
that whole
Mhm.
line.
Yeah.
I forget what he says exactly, but like he's outside the
Yeah. They're in
He's
maritime law
in
because
maritime
nobody,
law.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so he's like, I'm a space pirate. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And you're right. His timing is so great. And trying to have timing by yourself
yeah.
is harder than trying to have timing with someone else, because you kind of get the rhythm with the person that's across from you. And with this, like, he's by himself acting, and most of the time he doesn't even know what's behind him, because there's a lot of green screen. And so you've really, really got to get in your head to understand what this is all about. I also love the scene where they're like, we need to get a picture of him, and they're like, we can't even see his face. Why can't he? He's like, was he Fonz?
Yeah.
And they're like, why couldn't he flip up his helmet? And they're like, because he would burn his eyes.
He would die.
He would die.
I love the other one too, when he's after he's gotten the potato plants and he's like, NASA is trying to tell me how to grow the food here, but guess what? I am the best botanist on this planet.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's the script, it's the delivery, it's the timing, but you need those moments where, and like when he's first trying to create the water and he lights the fire and then he comes back and he's like, yep, just blew myself up. I mean, just great one-liners in this.
Yeah. And it's hard to find someone who can do that, who can carry the movie like he does. There's very few actors that can do it. And he does pull it off very well. And even the supporting characters. Although I will say my favorite scene is when they're talking about calling it Elrond, like Project Elrond, and they're explaining what that is. And it's Sean Bean in the room explaining it. And it's like, it was so meta. There's Boromir explaining the whole council of Elrond and everything else. And I loved it. As a nerd, I was like, yes, that was awesome.
That was such a good scene all around, because you've got all these different points of view, and they're trying to decide who has the best idea or who's going to agree with like the system, right? And so do we follow what might be the correct way as far as marketing goes, or as far as like how they look goes, or are we going to try and do the right thing, whatever that looks like? And the different characters were so much fun. And Kristen Wigg, she's just like, she's business, but she's still, you can feel her comedy in the background, but it's not too much. It's just enough.
Yeah, that scene when they're talking about the satellite photos and they are just discovering that Watley is alive because the satellite has moved, or the satellite photos show movement down there. And she's like, oh, what are we supposed to do? Just, I can't remember the line that she says, but she says it with just enough sarcasm that it's just great.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I like too when they were like, sorry to interrupt, Jake, when they're like, we're publicly, we have to be public facing. So we have 24 hours before this has to come out. So we got to decide what we're going to say now. We can't just bury this. So.
Yeah. On the public facing front, I do like when he sends the message back that's like just filled with F words. And she's like, that's a lot of swearing. Like, does he realize everybody is watching this right now? Yes, because I'm sure that's what's top of his mind right now, is what other people think. And he's trying to figure out how he's going to stay alive on this planet by himself long enough for them to save him in some form or fashion.
Right. And
He doesn't
since
care
this
about the
is
swearing.
since this is PG-13, you only get one F-bomb.
Yes.
And I love the fact that he goes, they have the shot from outside of the space
Yes.
shuttle, and so he's saying the F word, but you can't hear it because you're outside of the space shuttle.
Yeah. I thought that was so brilliant for them to do it that way, because he already gave us the one F word in the beginning,
Mhm.
when he said "F you Mars" or whatever it is, and
Right.
then we get that scene. I'm like, that was a really good way to do it.
Because that's what's going to happen. If you are stuck there and you get that kind of message, that's going to be your response. Yeah.
Well, that's what makes it such an amazing story. I don't know how. Just thinking about the fact that he's on this planet completely by himself, I
Yeah.
don't think I can even comprehend that level of isolation, where
Mhm.
there isn't somebody just around the corner that's going to come get you. There isn't a store you can go to. There isn't you can't Amazon packages to yourself on Mars yet.
Right.
So, like,
Yeah, I don't know how
just
I would live.
Have you guys heard of
keep
the show
going.
Alone?
No.
There's a show, I think it's on the History Channel, called Alone, and it's like its 8th season now, but they drop these people off in like remote parts of Alaska, and they have to build their own shelter and find their own food and find their own water, and they survive as long as they can until finally there's only one of them left, because you can tap out, hit the
Mhm.
Oh,
satellite
I thought
radio,
they were
and
like dying
and it
off.
gets you.
They
No,
just
no,
die.
sorry.
We're
This
not
is
at
like a
that point yet.
documentary show. Yeah, that.
We're not at that point yet.
Not at the
So I'm
Hunger
thinking
Games.
about it while I was watching this, and I'm like, these guys, like, one guy accidentally, a couple episodes ago, slipped and he got stabbed in the leg with his own arrow, and he had to walk like a mile back to camp in order to get to his satellite phone to call for rescue. But I'm like, at least you could do that. Here,
Yeah.
he's got to take that antenna out of his gut, and then he's got to take the shrapnel piece
Oh
out,
my
and then
gosh.
he's got to staple and clean the wound. I'm like, oh my gosh.
That scene was so hard to watch for me. I had to
Mhm.
kind of
Yeah.
look away because I get a little squeamish, and it was hard. And I
Yeah.
can't even imagine the pain that character was going through.
Ridley Scott does such a good job when it comes to making you feel pain. There's the whoa.
You said Ridley Scott, and I had an action scene.
Yeah.
Sorry,
But I was
those of
just-
you that are listening, my ring light almost just took me out all the way. I promise no more close-ups of my face, but I lied.
Action piece. No, but there's a scene in Prometheus
Yeah.
where she gets it's a different form of alien, but she has an alien inside of her, and she has to have a robot surgery, and it is like a minute and a half, and it is so hard to watch. And he can get these actors to like provide exactly what he needs in order to make you feel what they're feeling, and you're just squirming. I'm with you, Jake. I knew the scene was coming. I'm like, oh, I don't like this part.
Yeah. It's a hard scene to get through.
Oof. But you have to. You're by yourself. You've got to get that out of there. You've got to take care of this.
I honestly think
I think
there
some
were-
people would give up.
yeah.
I probably would. I'm not that smart. I couldn't figure out how to create water and
Yeah.
poop potatoes and
Yeah. I there were so many points in this where I thought, if I was in that position, at what point would I just kind of give up, because it would just feel so hopeless. And that's
Mhm.
probably the first point in the film where I'm like, when he's taking the shrapnel out and everything, I'm like, nope, I would have just died. I would have just gone outside without my helmet on and just let myself die.
Wow,
Probably the
as
quickest way to
usual.
go. Because I wouldn't see a way out, because I'm not as smart as he is. Sorry, I'm watching Valve like
Sorry,
preparing
it
for the
looked like
light
it was
fall.
coming down again, but I need to
But-
tighten it. I don't know. I'm gonna get taken out and die with this ring light. So
But I just, it's such a smart script too, and I like when the characters are put in difficult positions and have to be smart in order to figure a way out of it. And he's like sitting there going, okay, so I can't do yes or no questions. I get the camera working. They can ask me a question. I can ask them a question, and they can make the camera point to yes or no. So, but if I set up an alphabet, I can't track where the camera is going with the letters. And so then he creates this hexadecimal, which I don't know how that's done, but that was
I don't even know what that means. Yeah.
I don't either, but he obviously knew. And I'm sure this is based in some kind of science something, but
it must be a common, like in the science circles that I'm not a part of. Because the one lady, once she looks at it, she's like, oh, it's a hexadecimal system or whatever. And she knew exactly what it was.
Yeah.
So I'm just not familiar with it. So those of you that are watching or listening, please tell us in the comments what it is, because I don't know. If you know.
Looks like some kind of grid or something, but to be able to figure that out and to be able to like create water to grow potatoes and to do the math computations of, okay, he's traveling at this speed, they're traveling at this speed. I've got to change my trajectory and angle of ascent. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah.
And it makes me think of like Apollo 13 a lot.
Yeah.
The figuring out all the steps that you have to take in order to get this done.
Yeah. And that's kind of what he says at the end of the movie when he's teaching his class is, you know, when everything goes wrong, that's when you've got to go into problem solving mode and just figure out the next problem and the next problem. And to be able to be that methodical in that kind of a situation, it's impressive. And Apollo 13 is obviously very impressive because that actually happened. This is not based on a true story, The Martian.
Right.
But
that we're aware of.
That we're aware of.
But
sure.
The end of the movie to me is really cool because it is still very quiet, right? It starts with him just kind of standing there, and once you've gone through something like that, you've got to think that anything else that happens after that in your life is like whatever. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like you can get through anything at that point because you've done like the hardest thing that anybody has ever had to do. Nobody else will have that experience, hopefully, you know, so.
Right.
Yeah. I could see that. You're driving home and you're stuck in traffic and your first thought is, I hate being in traffic. I hate all these people. And then you'd stop and think, hey, you remember that time when you spent 500 days on a planet all by yourself with no other people? Aren't you glad there's people around? Oh, yeah, I guess so. Like that would be kind of my mindset, I think.
Yeah. Well, and the struggle between Jessica Chastain's character, she, you know, she's ultimately the captain. And so she's got a lot on her shoulders. And was it her fault that any of that happened in the first place? And then should she lose her job because she decided to go back? Because when they're all angry at her until he's there, until they got him, right? So she thinks she could get court-martialed because, I mean, this is like military grade stuff. And thinking about what your life is, because for them to turn around and go back and how long they were already out and then how long it's going to take them to get back to Mars and then get back, they have lives, they have kids, they have things they need to be doing as well. And would you pick someone else's life over not knowing the first 3 years of your kid's life?
Yeah. That would be a tough decision. I don't know what I would do, which is probably why I'm not an astronaut. That's my vision's not perfect. I'm slightly overweight. I just don't think I qualify in a lot of ways or smart enough. But no, it's just that one reason at the very beginning. I just don't know if I could make that tough decision. So that's it.
And I think about, because obviously this is based on a book, but I mean, as the author, you've got to think about all these things as what the character would have to go through. So like, I'm sure they contacted space people. Okay, so if this happens and this happens, and I like too that they keep ratcheting up the pressure. Like, okay, we've solved the food crisis, but wait, the hatch has a malfunction and all the crops are killed. So now we've got a new set of problems. And then the hole's not he's got to take the hole off. I mean, all these things there's just these continual problems he's got to overcome. And that makes perfect sense because you're on an alien world. You don't have the supplies. You got to make do with what you got. And again, it kind of takes me back to Apollo 13 when they're like, we got to make this square filter get into this little round hole.
Yeah.
Figure it out.
Yeah. And it goes right down to the last minute until he has to Iron Man his way over to her from
That's
his
such
ship.
a great line.
I'm going to Iron Man it. No. Such a bad idea.
And then she turns off the microphone to NASA. No, that's a good idea. We're just going to do it ourselves instead of him.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just smart. It's good. I was telling Tracy, it's kind of one of those movies that once you've seen it, it holds up. Like I've watched it, throughout the years since it came out, and because the cast is so good, and because you know how it ends, it is that feel good movie.
Mm-hmm.
And again, there's so many moments in the movie that even though it is super stressful, like when he's in, I don't know, what is the rover trying to get where he's supposed to be, and it's just ABBA music the whole time. He's like, why is this the only thing that's, and he's talking to her, right? Because he has this communication that they'll all be able to hear later, which I just think is funny because he does feel like he has someone to talk to.
Uh-huh.
And eventually they can actually talk a little bit, but I just think that's so funny, that commentary.
Yes.
And when he's like fishing through the feces and he's like, oh my gosh, what were you eating? Like that certain person's like, I just, it's just so funny. But also just, it's just a movie you can sit down and you just feel good watching it. It's
Well, and it's when NASA's like, oh, he's up there all by himself. He's completely alone. He thinks everybody's left him. What is his mental state going to be? And then he's like listening to the disco music coming out of the shower, and he's like, I have to say, you have the absolute worst taste in music. And it's him keeping that kind of lightheartedness because you have to. Because if you start getting into the mindset of, I am alone, everybody's left me, you're just going to go downhill so fast.
Well, yeah. And at that point, when, what is his mindset? And she responds with, well, he's asked us to start calling him Captain Blondebeard. Because he's a pirate. Because he's like, he explained it already. I got it. And you think about that, all the limited communication that he's got, he's taking the time to type out or whatever, this whole explanation on why he's a space pirate to them.
Right.
It's awesome. It's awesome. Captain Blondebeard. Love it.
I think sometimes, at least for me, like in the back of my head, I know Matt Damon's a really good actor, but sometimes you forget how good he can be.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't always choose the most challenging roles. Or maybe he's just so good that he sometimes makes it look very effortless. But I'm just watching this today and I'm like, yeah, he's carrying 80% of this movie by himself.
Yeah.
And you care about this guy, and he's funny and he's charming and he's smart, but yet you feel when he's feeling the pain and the desperation and all these things. And I sometimes I'm like, this guy's an Oscar winner for a reason, Yeah,
he is.
There's only one movie that he's made that I haven't enjoyed, but I do think he was really good in it. And that's the movie that came out a couple of years ago where he was in it. Kylo Ren was in it. Ben Affleck was in it, and also I think directed it or produced it.
Was it the night one? No.
Yeah, where they're all knights and he's got
the last
weird
duel.
Last Duel.
Ridley Scott's
that
Last
movie
Duel.
was awful.
This from Ridley Scott.
It was not great. And it had a great cast. The cast was amazing, but he had this awful mullet. Ben Affleck's hair was bleached. It wouldn't have been bleached back then. It was, and his character really didn't even need to be in that movie. But Ben Affleck Ben Affleck did not do a good job. Matt Damon did a really good job, but then he really did a great choice the following year, and that was last year with the movie Air. because
Yeah.
he was so good
Very
in
good.
Air. And again, super smart movie, kind of quiet. It wasn't like all these, things going on. It was just a great script, great casting, heartfelt movie. And so he makes good choices. I think he did that stupid Night movie because of Ben Affleck. I just think him and Ben Affleck
sometimes
make good choices together, and sometimes
he's not a good influence on him. I've seen the Dunkin' Donuts commercials. He's not a good influence on Matt Damon. Guy's trouble. And then he goes and he does. He's got a small role in Oppenheimer.
Yeah.
And does a really great job in that role. And I think he just, like you said, Tracy, he makes it look effortless. I think in a lot of ways.
I forget sometimes, like if I'm naming off like the best actors of this generation, for some reason I don't automatically think of him. But then I see a performance, I'm like, okay, no, he's really, really good.
Yeah.
Plus, he's acted like he's been in a feud with Jimmy Kimmel for like 15 years now.
So great. I love it so much.
So good.
And he looks devastated every time he's not on the show. Yeah. Well, we ran out of time again. So much fun. No, I wonder if it's just because when he and Ben Affleck came on the scene, they were like these upstarts, right? With Good Will Hunting.
Yeah.
Right. That was their big one. That brought them on the scene.
They both acted before that, but that was like they wanted some better roles. They wanted better roles, and so they wrote that and starred in it. Yeah. And
so it just always feels like they're these kind of indie guys that have just kind of happened to make it big. And I don't know if that makes it feel like they're not as well established, but Matt Damon especially really is.
Yeah.
Really,
Matt Damon
really
was in Saving Private Ryan before.
Yeah.
Like that's so
I
think it's just because they're not I mean, he was in all the Bourne movies, so and I think he was great in all the Bourne movies. It doesn't feel like it was forced at all. I think he just gets forgotten because he's not your regular leading man.
Yeah.
Right. He's not that. And I think that's great because I think he hasn't been typecast. Mm-hmm. Everybody makes fun because like when The Martian came out, they're like, he was in, The Bourne Identity. He was in Saving Private Ryan. It's always like him trying to get saved through all of these movies. And so there's like a bunch of memes out there. But no, all of his movies are very different.
Yeah. So for Matt Damon's career, we're going to give it an A for his performance overall.
It would be an A+, except for that stupid Night movie.
Yeah, except for the stupid Night movie. The Last Duel ruined it, Matt Damon. I'm sorry. But before we get to the grades, I just want to remind everybody again, if you're listening or watching on YouTube, please make sure that you go ahead and subscribe to our channel and click the bell for notifications. And if you haven't yet, comment with your favorite sci-fi movie. We're waiting. I don't know what you're waiting for. Just put it in there. Just comment. All right, Tracy, let's start with you for the grades today.
I would take up a whole page if you asked me to list my favorite sci-fi movies. And it's just, that's one of my genres that I just
make them each individual comments when this video comes out. So
okay. All right. That way we get lots. Okay. I see. Yeah. You're always thinking. I got you. This is one that I was really glad that Val brought up because I was telling her earlier, this is one that I kind of forget about, and I shouldn't because it's really, really good. And as soon as she said, I'm like, oh man, that is a good pick. That would be fun to talk about. It's got great cinematography, great cast, smart script. This one's an A for me. This is one that I could catch and pick up anywhere in the story, but definitely I prefer to watch it from beginning to end. But it's just one I don't tend to think about as much, but thanks for putting it back on my radar. It's an A for me.
Yeah. What about you, Val?
It's an A for me. That's why I chose it. So I really enjoy this film. Like I said, it's in that comfort movie section for me. If I see that it's streaming and I am just looking for something that I don't really need to worry about, you know what I mean? When you're having like one of those days and you just need to turn something on that you know is going to make you feel good, and you don't have to pay a huge amount of attention. Like you're not just in there like, wait, what is going on? What did they say?
Yeah.
What it's just it's an easy watch.
Yeah.
So yeah, for me, A all the way.
Yeah, I was debating on whether or not to give this an A. I was thinking A minus, but then I thought about it. I'm like, but what would I change in it to make it an A? It's extremely watchable. It's extremely enjoyable. It is very reminiscent of Apollo 13 in a lot of ways, and it just you feel better about humanity at the end of this movie. And honestly, nowadays, anything that makes you feel better about humanity is okay by me. So this is an A for me. This is a AAA rated movie.
This is the first AAA of season 5.
That's huge. That's huge. Maybe we
Well
just
done,
need to pick
Valerie.
better movies. I don't know. But
We didn't know some of these weren't going to be great.
yeah,
Yes.
that's true.
Yeah.
That's true. I don't know if we've done any bad ones yet.
What
season
did
five.
we give Inside Out? Did we not give Inside Out?
A minus. I think
Yeah.
I know I gave it an A minus.
So,
I did an
okay.
A minus as well.
Yeah, same. So I mean,
And I think
it's
Goonies
still
we
an
went
A.
a little bit lower.
I think we were B plus ish
Yeah.
on Goonies. Yeah. So, but that's the fun thing, at least for me, when we're talking about the show. And I've said this before, but it seems like a lot of times, like the critics are like looking for that nasty quote, that like cutting quote, that satirical, sarcastic, salacious clickbait thing. And maybe I'm naive, but like I want to like movies, even when I go in and going, I know this is probably not going to be good, but I hope that there's something in here that I can find good about it.
Exactly.
I don't like reviewing bad movies, and so it's fun for me to talk like this is good. But if it's a bad movie, I will tell you, because I'm just going to give you my opinion. But if you love it and I hated it, cool.
It's totally cool.
That's great, right?
Keep scrolling.
Maybe I'll put a salacious title for this one, like, is Matt Damon the worst actor ever or something? Or is this his worst performance ever or something?
And then
It's totally not true.
no.
It's totally not true.
But when you ask that question, then you're not lying. You're not misleading. You're just asking, is he? No.
Yeah, it's still misleading because it makes you like if I see that title, I'm going to assume that you're going to tell me why he is I'm assuming your stance is he is the worst ever. That's how headlines work. And
yeah,
you're right. Technically, I'm not lying, but
yeah,
a little
we may
bit.
not be the most listened to or watched because we're not salacious.
Yeah.
We're not clickbait. We're always just gonna be here, hopefully
Tell you what we
talking
think.
about decent to good movies.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're not the best. We get here. We don't talk to each other before when we talk about what movie we're going to talk about. So we find out the grades and what we think as we're having this discussion because we want to be real about it. And sometimes we've chosen movies that our other hosts have not liked.
Yeah.
And there have been times where we have chosen a movie that we haven't seen for a while, and then we rewatch it. We go, oh, that was probably not the best.
That did not hold up. That did not hold up. But we're always going to be real.
Yep.
We're not just going to say the popular thing about the movie. We're not, we're here being real. And like, we don't have scripts. I'm sure you realized that if you've listened before.
Yeah, if you thought this was scripted, you must think these guys are the worst script writers ever.
Or the best.
Or the best. It could be the best.
They really capture that unique flow of the conversation.
Yeah. But even when we pick movies, and we've talked about movies in the past that a couple of us don't like, or as much as the other host or whatever, we still find positive things to say about it. Like we typically, like a bad movie for us that we've talked about on this show is like a C. I think that's about as low as our grades go. And we still find something good to say about the movie. Like, I appreciate why people enjoy this movie. It just wasn't for me.
Yeah.
Right.
So if that's what you like to get out of your movie shows, then we are the podcast for you.
And please pass it along to your friends.
Absolutely.
And be like, these are some good peeps talking about good movies.
Yeah. If you pass it along, let them know, hey, if you want a show that just makes you feel happy because they're happy, we're it, baby. We're it. I don't know where the baby thing came from. It's
and
a
when
little...
you watch the videos, you get to see really cool shirts.
That's true.
I'm gonna have to up my game. I'm gonna have to up my game with my shirt. I'm wearing a cool hat.
I like it. I like it.
My
Was this from your last trip?
Boston Marathon hat.
Nice.
Never ran the Boston Marathon, but the last time I was there, I ran 2 of the bridges that they cross for the Boston Marathon. So.
That route is brutal. That marathon is.
It's beautiful, but it's brutal.
Well, thank you all for listening, watching, sticking with us to the end of the show. We always appreciate you sticking around. We want to remind you that this movie we call Life is better with you in it. So stick around and come back and watch us again. And until next time, we won't see you at the movies.